Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about delayed PRs. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, how would you handle a situation where the reviewers take several days to review your PRs and it frequently causes you to move your user story to the following sprint due to lack of time to address their PR comments? Well, that's an easy one. I would kick back my feet and wait it out. Or rather, no, actually, I would figure out where on the spectrum I am. So this is what I used to do. So I used to be an overachiever, where if I felt that I had a chance to finish early, or like I put something in a code review, and then I pick up the next thing immediately, and then I start working, and then I take up the next thing, and then I do that, and so forth and so forth. In the beginning, it wasn't as smooth because well, as a junior, you really don't. At least I didn't. I didn't have the skills to be that quick. And then when I got to a point where I was that quick, I kept on doing that. And so what started happening was that uh, well, basically, I started having so many things in pull request that when I actually did get the code review, stuff started bouncing back, and then things started bouncing over and over and over because I will die probably before I ever get to a point where I never get any comments on anything. If I'm lucky, it doesn't happen, but usually you have something. It doesn't have to mean that you did something bad. It's just that, as we've talked before, and as you can probably imagine, just as with anything, people have various opinions on how to do things or how to name their variables and so forth. And so I started getting stuff back. And when I did, I have found another sort of issue, which is what I like to ask the question, how many stores do you have in transit? Because when you delay pull requests and code reviews and things like that, what basically happens is that, well, now the person who's waiting for your code review, what are they going to do? It's going to be hard to do anything else, because basically what they have to pick from is, well, pick up the next story or do something other than pick up another story. And as I said, I used to just pick up the new story. And when you do that, when it's like just a few hours between the fact that you pulled up the first code review and then you get so then when you put up your pull request and you get a code review with, like, say a few hours later, then it's not a big deal usually, because you can go back and in a ready fashion finish that thing off, and assuming everything goes smoothly, you have maybe one thing in transit, as like you have two parallel stores. That's basically what I'm referring to. And that worked until I got to a point where I could do 3, 4, depending now, of course, on how long the people who I'm dealing with are delaying things. And all of a sudden, I had a hard time keeping quality because I had to track 4 or 5 pieces of work at the same time and just context switched so much that it basically became impossible for me to do anything. And that's when I started realizing something. That took even further for me to sort of to figure that out. I'm meeting my expectations. That's it. So I have no control over how good my coworkers are at their job, or how much they care, or how much they put into developing themselves, or anything like that. And this is something that you're going to figure out as well, guys. It does not matter if you are the best of the best of the best, because if you are working with people who are not as motivated, as whatever, as fast, or so forth and so forth, you can absolutely be frustrated, and a lot of people are. And I am as well, of course. I'm not perfect, but what I have realized is that when I need somebody else to do something that I'm not able to do myself or to influence or anything like that, then it's out of my hands. I can't force my just as you can't force your coworkers to be faster or to give you comment, like things like that. What you can do is to highlight to the managers and so forth that, well, sorry, yeah, I couldn't meet my deadlines because the code review took 2 days. And then you move the problem. you simply move it to, like, you put the blame where it is, because the delay in delivery has nothing to do with you. It has to do with your coworker. So you feel responsible because you feel as because they take their time to do their thing, you are no longer able to meet their expectation of the sprint, or like the whatever you're doing, right? And the thing that is being seen here is that you didn't deliver the story. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to clarify what took the time. That's the thing. If you can do that, you're safe. It's very, very important that when things are, like as I said, like when you are an overachiever, you have to break out of the mold. And you have to show what is going on. You have to make it comprehensible to your managers and so forth, so that they understand where the bottleneck is. Because as you said, if you are the one who's delaying this, like, because you own the story, which I know I know exactly how it feels. You own the story and it's taking forever to do it. And all you have to do to figure this problem out is to say, yes, I'm sorry, I had to wait for the code review. It took about 2 days, or whatever time it took. So I'm not sure. And then you can make, this is where you get really fancy with stuff. And then you can use your practiced social skills and say, I'm not 100% sure how we're supposed to be doing things, but it seems like a 2-day waiting time for 2 or 3 line change seems to be excessive, since we have X amount of people. I'm not really sure if they're really following the practices, because usually we try to give a code review, at least in my teams. If you go to my teams, we have actual practices for this, where we say that you are expected to work right to left, which basically means that if everybody works right to left, there is no situation where this can happen ever, because every single morning the first thing you will do is to help with the testing, and then the next column is do the code reviews, and then the next column is do your own shit. And I can promise you, even though I have that rule, it doesn't help. It still happens, but you can make it very explicit, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter to you. Because in my little story, with what I realized was that, as I said, instead of getting angry and frustrated, what I started doing was just kick back. I started taking time to make sure that I brushed up on my YouTube. Like, I could take that time and put that on YouTube tutorials. I could take that time to brush up on my CV. I could do tons of stuff, because I realized that it's a little bit like a race. So even if I'm the fastest person there, it doesn't matter, because the people who are running with me are not as fast, and I can't get angry at them. Or that I can, of course, but it doesn't help me. I can't influence the situation, so I might as well use the time that I have to do something productive. Or, as I said, I can pick up multiple other stories and explain to my, like, sort of when it gets to a breaking point. And still, if the problem persists, I can take that time and do something else with it. And so I no longer will feel this sensation of stress, because, as I said, as long as I can show my manager where the problem is, I am free of all sin and all guilt. So what I want you to take away from this is that what I suggest that you do is absolutely nothing. If people take forever to do their pull requests or code reviews or things like that, just let them. It's exactly the same thing as if, let's say for the sake of argument, that you had an integration or something to your system, and something's wrong with the system, and you send an email to the other party who's owning the other part, and they don't get back to you. What can you do? Ping them again? Yeah, sure, ping them again, and then sit and wait, because you cannot do anything else. And your manager, as I've said before, as long as they are aware of the situation, then you are not at fault here. It seems that way because, as you said, you most likely feel the sensation that you're being judged based on the delivery speed as a whole, and that's the key difference, right? So things are taking time. And if you just show them what actually is taking time, it becomes very clear that you're not actually responsible for the delay. And if you can get to that point, then somebody else is going to have to get some questions about, okay, so why is the code review taking so long? What are you doing? And that's the situation where you want your manager to step in and start asking some questions. Have a great day.